One of the big concerns and unknowns for banking and finance in the rapid evolution of AI is compliance and regulation. Hi, I'm your host Andrew Houpt, and we're back with another insightful episode of Monday Minutes. As we're diving deep into the regulatory landscape of AI and cybersecurity, we're joined today by Mark Houpt, Chief Information Security Officer at DataBank. Mark has over 30 years of experience in IT and security, making him the perfect person to discuss the evolving landscape of AI and its impact on compliance and regulation. Let's go. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you spent your entire life in cybersecurity and in IT. A lot will have changed. There'll be a lot of lessons. Perhaps you can start with a little bit of an introduction about yourself and the organization that you're working for.
Absolutely, Andrew, and thank you for having me. And yes, I've spent a little bit more than 30 years in IT, and most of that is in security, even long before security was the thing to do, if you will. So, and absolutely, you are correct. I've been through the school of hard knocks, I call it. You learn from the mistakes that you make. But yes, I've been with DataBank for 10 years as their Chief Information Security Officer, which is, I like to say that that's a lifetime in that, not a lot of CISOs stick around the same company for that period of time. But DataBank has blessed me with that opportunity to do so. And I have a team of about 20 people here at DataBank that operate in the physical security architecture, cybersecurity, as well as the compliance realm. So really across all three of those disciplines, we have people that are experts in that, and I get the privilege of leading that team to the successes that we've had. Now, DataBank is a data center operator that's primarily in the United States. We have about 65 to 70 data centers. We have some in flight, if you will, that are being built, which is why the difference in numbers. But we have some of those that are absolutely huge monsters that actually go with the topic that we're having here with artificial intelligence that's going into those buildings. And then we also have some smaller ones that are just carrier hotels. But regardless, we have to use security to protect all of those. And it's not just physical security that we use to protect them. So that's my role, and that's who DataBank is. I'm blessed to have a team and an opportunity to serve in this role.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Mark. And firstly, congratulations. I think the average global tenure for a CISO is 18 months. So you've well and truly outdone that at DataBank. Must be doing something right there. Those hard knocks are obviously, we wish that we could avoid them, but obviously teaching something in that space. So good on you. And thank you for all the work that you're doing as well. Mm-hmm. So today, this whole series is focused on banking and finance. And today we're talking about compliance and regulation. Now, in that space, in AI, we know that that's changing significantly. We know it's probably something that's important and it has a particularly big consequence on banking. So let's start with our first question. AI's got a big growing role in cybersecurity. What are the key regulatory trends that financial organizations should be mindful of when they start to adopt AI?
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest trend is stay up to date on what is going on with and go to your source for your regulations on a monthly basis. So, for example, the New York State here in the United States, the New York State Department of Financial Services issued guidance on October 16th of 2024 that it really emphasized the need for these financial institutions to assess their risk. And, we also have seen regulations and different things coming out of Europe. And so the going back to the well, if you will, is an absolutely important thing. It's a key role that you need to have yourself and somebody doing on your team to make sure you stay up to date on what's going on. Don't just look for what has come out, but look at what is proposed as well. And right now, what is coming out and what is being proposed is a lot of just guidance documents at this point that are focused on using AI for cybersecurity type of functions and using AI to enhance your SOC and also address privacy issues. I think most regulatory entities right now are really having a challenge in issuing guidance other than that, because AI is changing so fast, and a lot of the regulatory environments are government entities that move slower. So just go back to the well, engage with the proposed documents, engage with what's released, and follow that guidance that's being provided by these entities at this point.
Yeah, brilliant. So I guess trying to connect in, follow their feeds, making sure that you're getting that communication with someone in your team,
Right.
so that you can try and dissect that and understand how that applies.
Exactly.
So, I mean, as part of your role, I think you're in the position where you actually get to give guidance to a lot of other organizations in the financial services.
Right.
From your conversations with those other CISOs, what are the key compliance and regulatory challenges that you're all facing as AI changes cybersecurity?
Well, one of them we just spoke of is the governance factor. They're worried. A lot of the other CISOs and security professionals, compliance professionals, CPOs that I talk to are worried that they're going to get a new regulation or a new requirement that lands in their lap in a mid-budget year cycle, and not having prepared for that budget-wise. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And then the other thing that I hear quite significantly is that a lot of these guidance documents that we see is emphasis on risk assessment. And so a lot of the banking and financial institutions understand risk assessment from a financial perspective, and perhaps even a Sarbanes-Oxley style perspective, but take that down another notch. And there's a void in a lot of financial institutions of how to conduct risk assessments on things that aren't governed by SOX or are not governed by a similar type of regulatory scenario, but yet the regulatory guidance are saying, hey, conduct risk assessments, because it appears that us as CISOs are going to have to report more and make our boards and make our leadership much more aware of what risks exist in the environment than what has been in the past. I mean, we've seen that with the SEC coming out and telling us that we have to report an incident or an event within a specified period of time. Well, in order to do that, we have to conduct risk assessments. We have to understand what's going on, and we have to be able to report that upwards before it's released to an SEC or other type of governing entity or agency. And so that's one of the struggles that I hear is people coming to me and saying, well, how do I conduct these risk assessments, and how can I use artificial intelligence to make those risk assessments effective and take away some of the human factor in that? And then, of course, you have to conduct risk assessment on the AI. Is that being, if you throw it into ChatGPT in order to create a POAM or create a risk register, are you releasing that information that you may not want to release to the wrong entity or the wrong people? And how do we know that AI, even if it is boundaried for your organization, isn't not having data spillage out? So you have to conduct those types of risk assessments and understand the technology perhaps a little more than you had in the past.
Yeah, right. Wow. I think that's a big challenge. If you're so used to trying to manage risk around, like you say, a really predefined set of rules and requirements that take a while to catch up, suddenly you want to use AI to improve that, but you also need to assess this AI, and no one's telling you exactly how to do that. So I can see that that's going to be a really big challenge in that space.
Right.
So I suppose as we kind of close out this little conversation, and it probably goes into this point really, really well, what are those top three pieces of practical advice? So we know that there's these big challenges. We've sort of seen how regulation is changing, how we need to stay in touch with that. So what are your big pieces of advice when, financial organizations are trying to implement or integrate AI into their cybersecurity framework?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm telling my counterparts, my peers that I have conversations with, is that AI is ever changing, and we need to keep our eyes on what it's doing at all times. We cannot conduct a risk assessment today and assume that tomorrow is going to be the same. We cannot hire a SaaS vendor and say, okay, you're allowed to use AI, and assume that they're going to use it in the same manner today as they do tomorrow or a month from now, 6 weeks from now. So one of the things I'm telling people is always keep an eye on it. Another thing is to go back and evaluate your current governance program and your governance structure. Are you following all the guidance out there? Do you have all the avenues to understand what the guidance is that's coming out, so that you can stay up on what, like in my financial services, what's going on in Europe right now, what's going on in various locations? Are you able to stay up on that? And then I'm also guiding people and advising them to use AI, especially in real-time threat detection, because one of the key things we have a problem with right now is that AI is being used by the attackers to attack us. So what better to use against the attackers than the same tools, only on the good side, that is being used to attack us. So hopefully AI can detect AI. Another thing I've been telling people is just to make sure that you find ways to model and validate your models that you're putting. If you're putting data into AI, make sure that it's actually telling you the truth and telling you a real story when you come out. So I've had a number of situations, even recently on a hobby side, for example, where I know certain pieces of data, but I put it into ChatGPT or something similar to that to give me additional data out. And I've seen that even the base information that's coming out of it is wrong. And so you need to question the models. You need to question what's being sent to you. You cannot just assume that because it's AI, it's good, and that the data that's been put in or the data that's coming out is accurate as well. So develop some sort of validation process, and continually monitor that artificial intelligence, that's the information that's being given to you. If not, you might miss something. You might have some problems. So those are some things that I'm talking with my peers about. Those are some things I'm warning them about. But mostly just keep up on what's going on, because it's moving very fast, and what you hear today will change tomorrow.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. I mean, that's such sage advice. Keeping up on top of things, but also being ready to change the way that you do risk assessment and assessment. Right. So it doesn't come down to an annual audit like we're used to in financial.
Correct.
It comes down to this thing could change on a dynamic basis. And I love the point you make about validation. I mean, I've played around as a hobby as well, a lot in different spaces. And it's really interesting, the bias sometimes that the models can have. I've told it to draw pictures of me, cartoons of me, and it looks a whole lot better than I actually do. So we know that there's an inherent desire to please with the information that comes out.
Yes.
So that could have catastrophic effects in finance if we trust that without validating that.
Now, you mentioned something a moment ago I want to reemphasize, especially since we're talking about financial scenarios. And when I talk to financial people, I emphasize this as well. The financial environment is traditionally a very, like you said, an audit once a year type of thing with continuous monitoring going on in between. It's something that is a repeating cycle over and over again. And it's important to think outside of that box now. There are industries that constantly think outside of that box, but the financial industry is one that really has to start thinking outside of a cycle, outside of something that happens once or twice a year, and really needs to be thinking about something that happens daily or weekly in the process of learning new information, employing new information, things along those lines. So that's a very important piece to reiterate for our financial folks.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Mark. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, probably trying to change some of that culture and that mindset and getting the resourcing to do that. But we're really appreciative that people like you are stepping into that space and guiding people about that changing environment and sort of being a pioneer. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for taking this time. I'm sure that everyone around the world will enjoy this advice and enjoy the rest of your day, Mark.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks. That's all for this episode of Monday Minutes. A huge thank you for Mark for sharing his invaluable insights on AI, cybersecurity, and compliance. As we've learnt, it's crucial to stay informed about emerging regulations, conduct thorough risk assessments, and leverage AI responsibly to enhance security. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like it, share it, and subscribe. We'll be back soon with more exciting discussions on the future of technology. Stay tuned.